What are dreams and who are the dream characters? Well, in very short, dreaming is astral traveling. So when you are dreaming, your spirit leaves your body and goes to another realm. This can be a different dimension, a different place, it can be anywhere. Now, in most of our dreams, as you may have noticed, we go to a place that is not super nice. And I will talk about those very common dreams in a moment because they are the most important ones to understand. But there are other places you can go to as well, which are much nicer. I had this one dream where I went into one of the very high dimensions where everything is so peaceful and loving. And this was when I first had my spiritual awakening, or I should say, when I first was conscious of having the awakening, because before you're conscious, there is a very large chunk where you're being prepared to awaken. So this is the pre-awakening. But so I had my big epiphany. I had a shock awakening, as it's called. So I was not spiritual at all before, and then there was a big shock moment when I was really shocked awake. And then after that, the first thing I got interested in was dreams. And of course, there was a very, very good reason for this because dreams are super powerful for healing. But that's for later. So I got interested in dreams, and working with my dreams, I became lucid naturally, just by focusing on dreams, by working on remembering them, by telling them, by writing them down. I began being lucid in dreams. And then I had this one dream where I went to a very high dimension. There was this sort of a meeting, but a very informal one. You could see that there was a lot of love between the people there. There was a lot of peace. And they were talking about me, which is a bit funny, but it was because I was there. I was kind of hiding at the ceiling somewhere because at this point I had kind of learned how to fly in dreams. I wasn't so good at it yet, but I could do it. So I was hiding there because I was afraid of what the fuck is this? Where am I? And they were talking about me, and then I kind of went down to look at them more closely because it was so vivid. I could see so much details. And then one of the dream characters said, hello, Anne, good to have you here. And I was so shocked, like, how do you know my name? And I shocked myself awake. But so this was not a super interesting dream, in fact, but it was in the higher dimensions. And I know some of the dream characters I saw there were real beings, not human beings, but beings living in the higher dimensions. But as I said, so nice to go to the higher dimensions, but not super interesting. The really interesting dreams and the dreams that we should focus on right now are the annoying every night dreams that we have, the nightmares that we have, because that's where the big potential for healing lies. And what are those dreams? Where are you going? So again, this is also astral traveling, but this time you're going to a different place. And I'm not absolutely sure what this place is. It's important to know a bit of the background of what the Earth is before you can understand what dreams are. This Earth is kind of hijacked by evil forces. And I say evil in quotes because evil is real and it is not real. It's real in our dimension. I mean, when you see war, when you see horrible things happening, evil is definitely real. But in the higher dimensions, it's not real. It's something that we created here to experience because this life is a game, no matter how weird that can sound at times, because how can all of this be fun and games? But it is. We created it with the intention of having a fun game, of learning in a fun way. But then, as an experiment, as a fun experiment, I have more explanation on this, which I will link below. So I will link the video where I explain this in more detail, but very short. So I wanted to have some fun and games here, and we created a team that was playing the evil side and a team that was playing the good side. And the team that was playing the evil side was really, really good at the game and kind of hijacked this entire planet and made this into an evil planet. So still in the game, but they've taken it a bit too far, let's say. And that's why we are all here right now. That's why we have the ascension, to escape this evil thing. But so, the Earth where we're living right now is in the hands of the evil team, and so are our every night dreams. And where we go most nights is, as I said, I don't know exactly the details of what it is, but it is a virtual environment created by this evil team, or not necessarily created, but dominated by the evil team. Just like this Earth, it's not created by the evil team, but they have taken over so many things. They rule this place. And they also rule the dream virtual environment. So you can really think of it as a kind of computer game, virtual environment, where your spirit goes at night. The evil team controls this. So it's like another good analogy is that it's created by an AI, so the AI of the evil team. And the AI creates stories there to keep us entertained or to do whatever. And the AI creates character, it creates environments, it creates lots of things. All looks really, really real because the AI is very good. But it's also something more than that. It's not just a thing that is created for one night. It is mixed with our own subconscious or unconscious, however you want to call it. And how this works. The subconscious, you can see as an inner domain or an inner landscape where our ego resides, where our ego lives. And again, I have a separate video on the ego, which I will link below. But again, in short, the ego is not just one thing. Every time something bad happens to you, when you have a small or major trauma, the ego splits off. So a new kind of entity is created out of the ego. And I call this an inner being because they have a personality, they have an appearance, they they have preferences, they can be male or female. It's not because I'm a female that all my inner beings are female as well. They can be human, they can be dragons, they can be whatever. Inner beings can be anything. So you experience something and an inner being is created out of your ego. So your ego splits off a very small part of it. And this inner being now lives in the inner domain, the inner landscape. But they don't just all live there happily in a bunch of beings. They live in separate domains. And these domains really have borders. They cannot interact with each other. They don't even know that the others exist. They don't even know that you exist, by the way. They just live in this weird, confusing domain where they don't understand what's going on, very much like you feel when you're in a dream. So what happens when you're dreaming? Either you go really to one of those inner domains, or you go to a virtual environment created by the AI where inner beings are inserted, or how do you call it? Inner beings are there as well. So it doesn't really matter whether you're really inside of the inner landscape or inside of the virtual environment created by the evil team. There are inner beings there, so your subconscious is mixed in there. And what does this mean? What are the dream characters? They are different categories. First, you have the inner beings, as I was saying. So really, these are really parts of your ego with their own personality, their own appearance, their own preferences, which you can talk to at night. Really, really cool. Really, really good for healing. But it's not just inner beings there. You also have the characters that are created by the AI, by the dream AI. So that, yeah, I used to say they're less real. They're less real to you. They're external to you. But they are real in a sense because everything is real. Everything that exists is real. Everything that exists is conscious. And these AI characters have a consciousness of their own as well. And I've talked to many, so I know they are very weird. Their logic is very difficult to follow, but they're definitely conscious. So you have these AI characters which kind of dominate the dreams. They have the task of making the dream go as the evil team wants, or following the story that the evil team wants. So they have a big impact on the dream. The inner beings are much more passive. They're just there, not knowing what's going on most of the time. And then you have the third category, and these are the dark entities. Because our inner world is not just populated by our own inner beings, by us, but also by external dark entities which control the inner beings. As I said, the domain is, or the inner world is split into these different domains. The domains that cannot, that don't know about each other, that have really borders. And every domain is controlled by one or more dark entities, and they are responsible for keeping all of the inner beings there suppressed, kind of. So dark entities latch on our trauma, and our trauma you can see as inner beings carrying the trauma. So this is a very a way of seeing things very personified, and that's my thing. So that's the way I see things. Maybe some, or definitely some people see it differently. You can see it more as pure trauma, but it doesn't matter. The representation really doesn't matter. So I see it as inner beings being controlled by dark entities. They're really the guards or the kings or the queens of the domain, and they're keeping everyone locked there. They're keeping all of the inner beings kind of prisoner. They don't always know it. Sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes they're really in dungeons or in cellars, but most of the time it's not that obvious. But anyway, so these are the three beings that you will encounter in our every night dreams. The inner beings, part of your ego carrying your trauma. The dream characters created by the AI, so really the external dream characters, which are weird, and the dark entities keeping you under control, or at least your inner beings. And why is all of this so crucial? Because that's where the healing is. In the inner beings, if you can convince your inner beings to let go of the trauma, then this is one of the most efficient ways to heal. There are so many ways to heal. You can heal via the physical body. You can heal by being aware of your emotions, by releasing emotions, but really asking inner beings or helping them to release trauma, it goes so fast and it's so cool. And so the best way of doing that is in a lucid dream, because there you see the inner beings, you can communicate with them, you can help them. But of course, it's a very difficult game, this Earth game. The dream characters will not make it easy for you, and especially the dark entities will not make it easy for you. And to make it all even more complex, you cannot tell the difference between them. You cannot see, this is clearly a monster, it's a dark entity, and this is clearly a little child, this is one of my inner beings. Dude, it is very confusing. Everything is made to confuse you, to put you on the wrong track. I just had a dream last night where I thought someone was on my side, and it turned out to be a dark entity. So really, they will trick you all of the time. This is what the dark entities do. They trick, they hide, they conceal, they mask. And in this video, I'm not going to go into all of the details of how you heal the inner beings, how you handle the dark entities, how you handle the dream characters, because that would make it much too long. This is just the basics of what are dreams and what are those dream characters. So dreams are really an environment. Either you go directly into your own inner world, or you go into a virtual environment created by the dream team. Or doesn't really matter which one it is. And what you see there are inner beings, part of your ego carrying your trauma, dark entities controlling them, and dream characters created by the dream AI. That's the basis for now. And I'm going to make more videos about with more information of how you can become lucid, how you can learn to fly in dreams, how you can go through walls, all of the nice and good stuff, what to do with your inner beings, what to do with the dark entities, what to do with the dream AI characters. All of this for later. Just one thing that I want to mention here to conclude this part. Often when you're dreaming, you are inside of one of the inner beings. So you're seeing things from the perspective of one of your own inner beings. And this is why in dreams, you're often so different. I'm often a guy in my dreams, more often a girl, but sometimes a guy, sometimes young, sometimes old. You have a totally different life often, and you really believe that you're living that life, so you forget who you are in here. And all of this is because you're inside, you're looking through the eyes of an inner being. So you're living the life of an inner being. And this is so cool to understand, because then you start understanding how these inner beings live, how they feel, how their everyday life is, because they do have lives. And you realize that everything is really, really confusing for them, because we're all so confused in our dreams. We don't know what's going on. We're just grabbed by the flow and we don't have any choice. We're on automatic pilots. And this is how the inner beings live. And once you get lucid, that means that you're no longer looking through the eyes of the inner being. Inside of the inner being, you have brought more consciousness. You have brought your consciousness. So you're lifting an inner being to a higher level, you could say. So that's why lucid dreaming is so cool. I think that was all I wanted to say on this one. So we know what dreaming is, we know what the dream characters are, we know why we are so confused and weird often in dreams, why we do weird things, because we are on automatic pilot following this script really that has been written for the dream. And much more to come on lucid dreaming, on flying, and healing in dreams. So I will see you next time. Like this video if you liked it, follow the channel, and bye for now.